Coming up, the St. Joseph's men's basketball team travels to Chicago to beat Loyola for a second time. Here are your highlights.
Also, some exclusive footage from the parade in Kansas City, home of the Super Bowl 57 champions, and news about the Chicago Bears' potential move to Arlington Heights.
All this and so much more.
I'm Vanesa Hoxha.
And I'm Abbey Sileo.
Rambler Sports Locker begins now. Welcome back to Rambler Sports Locker. I hate to have to start the episode like this, but unfortunately, I have some bad news. It is officially a wrap on Sunday football. If you're a football fan like me, you know that Sundays are just not going to be the same for a while.
I get it, Vanessa. The offseason is tough for every sports fan, but there are plenty of memorable moments football fans can look back on. Super Bowl 57 and its halftime show are no exception. Here to recap Rihanna's comeback at the big game is Chloe Morrissey.
That's right, Abbey. Rihanna did not hold back in giving us an unforgettable performance. She opened the performance with "Be Better Have My Money." And can I just say, what an absolute power move. She followed up with many of her popular songs like "Where Have You Been?", "Only Girl in the World", "We Found Love", and "Rude Boy". This was a total testament to just how many hits she has produced in over a decade. Yet, she was missing a few crucial songs like "Disturbia", "SOS", and "Ponder Replay". But if I was Rihanna, I would also have a hard time narrowing down all of my hits into a halftime show. Now, what was really surprising, for obvious reasons, was her performance of "All of the Lights", her song with Kanye West, now known as Ye. What really sent fans into a frenzy was the very special guest Rihanna brought out with her that no one could have expected. It has been confirmed that Rihanna is pregnant with baby number 2. And if anyone can do a 13-minute halftime show floating in the air with a baby in her stomach, it's Rihanna. She kept the energy high for the entire performance alongside her dancers, whose marshmallow-like white puffer coats perfectly contrasted her sleek pop of red. Rihanna flowed right into Umbrella and closed out the show with none other than diamonds, backed by a spectacle of fireworks. What an incredible scene and an amazing performance from the pop star, beauty mogul, and now reigning Super Bowl queen. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Chloe Morrissey.
The reigning Super Bowl queen. I love it. I can't believe she didn't sing Disturbia either. Thanks, Chloe. Aside from what could go down as the best Super Bowl performance in history, let's talk about that game.
Yeah, a truly great game of football with amazing performances from both teams. The final score of the game was 38-35.
The Chiefs' kicker, Harrison Butker, broke the tie at 8 seconds left in the fourth quarter. 6 seconds was not enough time for the Eagles to take the ball downfield and score, leaving the Chiefs victorious.
The Chiefs' second Super Bowl win in 4 years has fans across the world buzzing. On Wednesday, the team and its fans took to the Kansas City streets for the championship parade. City officials estimate over 500,000 people showed up to celebrate. And after the parade, fans rallied in front of Union Station where the team gathered. MVP Patrick Mahomes told the large crowd this is just the beginning, and he hopes for another championship run next year. Congratulations to the Chiefs on their Super Bowl win.
We've covered the game, the halftime show, and the parade. But the Super Bowl wouldn't be the Super Bowl without the commercials. Here with the rundown of this year's top commercials is Amelia Villhauer.
The Super Bowl is one of the biggest sports events that takes place in this country, but it wouldn't be complete without the iconic commercials. Competition this year was fierce amongst brands due to advertisers who paid between $7 to $10 million for a spot. Let's take a look at some of the best that audiences saw last Sunday. Of course, we have to start with Doritos, a fan favorite brand that has been appearing during the Super Bowl since 2006. This commercial included 3 cross-generational artists, Jack Harlow, Missy Elliott, and Elton John. The ad was fun and musical with Doritos' creative inclusion of the instrument, the triangle. Of course, we can't talk sports without mentioning the great sports legend Serena Williams and her motivational speech in the ad for Remy Martin. The commercial includes empowering scenes of dancers and football players working together, inspiring athletes across the country. And finally, we have the commercial that shocked and confused everyone in the nation, all thanks to Tubi. This advertisement started with two actors pretending to be Super Bowl commentators, but then made the screen appear to be switching to the Tubi app. The ad took first place due to the uproar and confusion it caused, including families yelling at someone for sitting on the remote or just screaming at the TV. It has taken social media by storm and has made an unforgettable impression. While there isn't time to talk about every Super Bowl commercial, these certainly were part of the highlights, and I'm looking forward to what these companies come up with for next year and every year following. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Amelia Villhauer.
Thanks, Amelia. The Super Bowl and its commercials are far from the only sports moments remembered in the history books. Elizabeth Winchester is here to break down the major sports event that happened on this day in history.
Today we are starting a new segment called This Day in Sports History. Today I have two records and two birthdays on this day in history, February 17th. In 1924, American swimmer Johnny Weissmuller set the world record for the 100-meter freestyle. Weissmuller achieved the record of 57.4 seconds in Miami, Florida. He went on to set a 67 world records and win 5 gold medals in the Olympics. In 1928, American brothers Jensen and John Heaton took gold and silver in the Krista, which is now known as the skeleton, at the St. Moritz Winter Olympics. Jensen took the gold by a margin of 1 second. In 1936, American Hall of Famer running back Jim Brown was born. Brown played as a fullback for the Cleveland Browns of the NFL from 1957 through 1965. He led the NFL in rushing yards in 8 of his 9 pro seasons and was an 8-time All-Pro selection. Finally, in 1963, American Basketball Hall of Famer forward Michael Jordan was born. One of the greatest basketball players of all time, he has made 11 All-NBA teams, won 5 MVPs, 6 Final MVPs, and 6 NBA titles, and crafted a legendary legacy. That's all for this edition of This Day in Sports History.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Now, Nate Keough is here to give some off-season predictions for NFL quarterbacks who are now free agents.
When the final whistle blew during the Super Bowl this past Sunday, the NFL offseason officially began. Many well-known quarterbacks are expected to sport new jerseys next season, and many teams will be looking to fill their vacancies under center. It's time to take a ride on the quarterback carousel. First in line is Derek Carr. Carr was officially released by the Las Vegas Raiders on Tuesday. What's a good destination for this veteran passer? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs just lost the great Tom Brady to retirement, but still have a playoff caliber roster if they can find a solid replacement. Carr is a serviceable veteran that can help the Bucs win in a weak NFC South division. Next to ride the carousel is the 49ers' Jimmy Garoppolo, who is now a free agent. A good fit for Jimmy G? The New York Jets. The Jets were on the fringe of the playoff picture this year, but ultimately were held back by poor quarterback play from quarterback Zach Wilson. The Jets can either start Garoppolo over Wilson or use him as a threatening backup to motivate Wilson to pull it together. Lastly, we have Aaron Rodgers. Packers executives have been hinting that a move is likely, but where could Rodgers go? The Las Vegas Raiders. It's a warm weather city, which older quarterbacks tend to favor late in their career, and they have a competitive roster, including Rodgers' old receiver, Davante Adams. It will be tough for Rodgers to pass up an opportunity to reunite with Davante in the Sin City. Many quarterbacks will be on the move this season, and I'm so excited for the drama this will bring to the 2023 NFL season. For RSL, I'm Nate Keough.
Thanks, Nate. In other NFL news, the Bears are one step closer in moving to Arlington Heights. On February 15th, the team announced it closed on the purchase of a property once home to the Arlington International Racecourse for $197 million. A deal almost a year and a half in the making, the Bears want to develop the land into a new stadium and entertainment district. There is still a lot of work to be done before the Bears can say goodbye to Soldier Field.
The Super Bowl of UFC was last Saturday evening on February 11th in Perth, Australia. In the main event, the lightweight champion of the world, Islam Makhachev, faced the featherweight champion, Alexander Volkanovski, for the pound-for-pound title. After a tough, full 5 rounds by unanimous decision, the judges scored the fight 48-47, 48-47, and 49-46 for the winner, Islam Makhachev. Makhachev is now not only the lightweight champion of the world, he is also now the pound-for-pound champion. There was a bit of controversy following the fight. In Joe Rogan's podcast, he quotes, "It seemed to me, though he won 3 rounds, we were pretty convinced," end quote. Here he is referring to Volkanovski. In the press conference after the match, Volkanovski states, quote, "Credit to him. Well-rounded, yeah? I underestimated his striking, he underestimated my wrestling, and stuff like that. What do you do?" End quote. He continues to say, quote, "I've got to watch that fight back. Blank rematch. Where is he?" Does this mean we can expect to see these two powerhouses in the octagon again? We'll have to see. But both opponents had the utmost respect for one another, and it was an amazing fight overall. It's been a crazy sports-filled February, and it's not over yet. I'd like to welcome Lucas Kimm and Trent Jackson to join me for this week's Ramble.
Welcome back to another edition of The Ramble. I'm back with my 2 guests, Vanesa Hoxha and Trent Jackson. In this episode of The Ramble, we're talking about the NBA All-Star Game. This Sunday, Team LeBron and Team Giannis will face off against each other and pick their favorite players before the game in Salt Lake City, Utah. A total of 24 players are selected, 12 from the Western Conference and 12 from the East. Some of the stars playing this year include Luka Doncic, Spider Donovan Mitchell, and the Joker, Nikola Jokic. However, every year there are players that did not make the 24-man cut, who some believe deserve to be an All-Star. Some honorable mentions include Klay Thompson, LaMelo Ball, and Jimmy Butler. But today, we're going to be talking about 2 notable snubs that I thought should have made it, which were Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks and James Harden of the Philadelphia 76ers. So guys, my question is, do Trae and James deserve to be All-Stars this year, or are they rightfully snubbed? Trent, I'm going to start with you.
Well, James Harden and Trae Young were definitely the 2 most biggest snubs in this All-Star game. When you look at James Harden, he's averaging 22 points and 11 assists a game on one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. So he's doing what you're asking him to do. So it's very disrespectful the fact that he wasn't named an All-Star. If you look at Trae Young, he's putting up 27 points and 10 assists a game. And although the Hawks aren't high in the standings in the East, he's still playing out of his mind, although he's not shooting that well this year. And so when you look at what they're doing for their teams, it's kind of hard to see how they were not named All-Stars. If I was to pick 2 people they should have replaced, it should have been Tyrese Haliburton and Drew Holiday.
I mean, I totally get your point because James Harden has been like a staple in the All-Star game. You know, he's been playing in All-Star games for 10 years straight, and you know, this is the first time he hasn't made it in a consecutive year, and it's pretty crazy. Like, I just always remember him, especially when he was on the Rockets playing in the West, and also with Trae Young. I mean, personally, I think he's the next Curry. I feel like he's an absolute sharpshooter. He's great at the three-point line, and putting up 27 points a game. Like, yeah, he's not making, you know, he's not winning games, but you know, he's a great player, and I think he deserves to be an All-Star. Vanessa?
Yeah, I think you guys undoubtedly make great points. Trent, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I don't think that Drew Holiday or Tyrese Haliburton should be replaced. I mean, yes, there's no doubt that James Harden is an amazing basketball player, period. And Trae Young, like you said, is he the next Curry? I don't know. But like you also said, he's not winning games. And I don't think that basketball is solely reliant on the numbers. I think it's important, but I mean, it always matters about your dynamic on the team, right? I mean, Drew Holiday, he has that dynamic with Giannis, which is going to help him in this game. I mean, in an interview with Giannis, he said he looked for him. You know, they got out of the deficit because of Drew Holiday, and I think that's equally as important as putting up those numbers. And Tyrese Haliburton, I mean, he goes down the court, and he's not even looking at the rim. He's looking at his players to make those plays, and it's all about being a team player. I mean, I might be biased because playing competitive volleyball, I was a setter, and I'm all about assists, so maybe I have bias on that aspect, but looking for players to make plays and not just shooting baskets to get points is going to be crucial in the All-Star game, so I believe that everyone was rightfully picked.
Well, I see your point, but like, I mean, Tyrese Haliburton, he's already in the three-point contest. I mean, sure, like I mean, the thing about him with me is that like he's shooting 19 points. Like, I don't know, as someone who's like he's on the Pacers, you know, the Pacers are like what, mid-team, whatever. Like, I don't know, I feel like he should be doing better, and you know, he isn't really. And so, what do you think, Trent?
Yeah, just to add on, like I agree that what you do for your team is not all about scoring. It's definitely about assisting and get your guys involved. But when you say that, that's what Harden and Trae Young does. Harden is averaging both. He's averaging more points than Halliburton and more assists. He's averaging 22 points and 11 assists, while Halliburton's averaging around 20 and 10. And then Trae, he's averaging around 10 assists as well, while still putting up 27 points a game. So they're both getting their teams involved. They're doing what another player is doing at a better level. And while, like I said, Young is not winning, he still put up amazing numbers. So it's kind of hard to see why they will not be all-stars.
I mean, the only point I'd say for you, Vanessa, is like I'm a big believer in James Harden and Trae Young. Right. But the only thing I would say about James Harden is like he's not the same guy, which I can see why they didn't pick him because he's not the same guy he was in Houston. I mean, you used to see him in Western Conference, championships, just like shooting threes like it's raining threes. Yeah. It's crazy. And once he got traded to the Nets, I feel like he wasn't the same guy there, different position. And then once he went to Philly, he's playing a different position, so I can kind of see why they kind of snubbed him this year, but at the same time, I mean, he's still a great player to me.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I believe that Giannis, there's a method to this madness. So, I mean, we're just going to have to see on Sunday how it goes. But I think everyone was rightfully picked. But, I mean, we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, regardless of who plays, it's going to be a fun game to see. All-Star Weekend starts the 17th and will lead up to the game on Sunday, the 19th at 7 p.m. Central Time. Let's send it back to Vanessa and Abbey with some sports updates.
Thanks, everyone. I can't wait to see the NBA All-Stars in action. Loyola's basketball teams are in the final stretches of their regular seasons. Let's get you caught up on all of the action. Here is Samantha Martinez with Loyola's last home game against St. Joseph's University.
St. Joseph's men's basketball team beats Loyola by 12 points in an action-filled game. Here are your highlights. The game started with the St. Joseph Hawks getting the ball at tip-off. However, the Loyola Ramblers made a quick turnaround with a three-pointer shot by Bryce Golden, letting the Ramblers make the first mark on the scoreboard. The Ramblers and the Hawks kept a steady pace, carving the way for the game to be full of ties. The Ramblers tied with the Hawks 14-14 from a fadeaway scored by Braden Norris in the paint, with only 11 minutes left in the first half. They continued to tie almost heading into the second half at 39-39 until St. Joseph's forward Obina scored a layup, leading the Hawks with a 2-point lead. As the Ramblers and the Hawks went into the second half, they went neck-to-neck consistently on the scoreboard. Only 17 seconds into the second half, Loyola's Bryce Golden shot a two-pointer and the Ramblers were caught up with the Hawks. The Ramblers and the Hawks were chasing each other's leads up until St. Joseph's Lynn Greer III put up 2 points, marking a pivotal point for the Hawks. With St. Joseph's in the lead and 3 minutes and 38 seconds left in the game, the Hawks put up 10 more points. The St. Joseph Hawks win the game 83-71. Despite Loyola's loss, redshirt senior Braden Norris put up his career all-time high of 25 points. Here's what he had to say.
And if we won, and I had 0 points,
Next up for the Loyola men's basketball team, they're traveling to Richmond, Virginia this Saturday the 11th to take on the University of Richmond Spiders. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Samantha Martinez.
Thanks, Sam. On a lighter note, the men's basketball team picked up its first Atlantic 10 road win against the University of Massachusetts on Valentine's Day. I'm sure Drew Valentine and the guys were happy with that one. The men's basketball team defeated the Minutemen 64-62.
Women's basketball is also coming off of close games. Just 1 point made the difference February 11th when the team faced the St. Bonaventure Bonnies, but lost 48-47.
That wraps up this episode of Rambler Sports Locker.
To stay up to date on all things Rambler Sports, be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Loyola RSL, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. From all of us here at Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Abbey Sileo.
And I'm Vanessa Hoxha.
And as always, don't forget to turn off the lights.